Hi, I'm Renee Richel, the founder and president of One True Match. I'm here to help you find and cultivate the love of your life. For over a decade, I've dedicated my life to the importance, purpose, and dynamic of human relationships. My team and I are disciplined by faith, love, and integrity to help our clients find the quality relationship they've always dreamt of. Each week, I will be sharing the tools and tips I've learned that have rooted my success as a matchmaker with other leaders around the world. Hello, loves. Welcome back. I am so excited to do another fun podcast live and obviously in video to speak to all of you and talk about some of our favorite topics that Connie and I are asked on a daily, it feels like, basis. So I have Connie here with me, obviously, as you can see now.
Yeah, I know. There's no hiding anymore. So it's so good to be back as per usual.
And we are going to talk about today the culture of dating and how much that changes from time and day and age and era and life and all the things. So we're going to kind of just go through step by step, one by one. Things that often come up when it comes to people asking us the question. I know I just got off a phone call with a client earlier today and talked about, well, what is the proper etiquette? How fast should you move on a text and how quick should you move on like a phone conversation? And when do you actually get together? And, after the first date, if it's not going well, do I stop? Or what do we do, right? And so I think that question that first came to me, of course, what I had shared is it's so important that you remember not everybody may be at the same pace as you.
That's very true. And also, we talk about communication all the time, but to be aware of what the other person's pace is. And also different ages. That, like, if there's a bigger age gap, there's also generational differences that come along with texting and phone calls and things like that as well.
Right. So I think one thing that I always say, I can repeat this over and over again, we need like a bumper sticker that says this, is slow and steady wins the race, right? So when it comes to meeting the love of your life and your future husband or your future wife, it's so important to not rush the process of truly getting to know someone and not rush the steps of, is this the right one? Is it not the right one? I don't know. How do you know? All these things. And keeping an open mind. Because if you think about it, the relationships that you've built up to this point, friendship, obviously, just in general, colleagues and things like that, it's been slow and steady.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is that most people always say, oh, they're not texting back. Oh, we're not official yet. We're not married yet. It's like, take it slow and steady, because you do not want to make that decision that you regret. Like so many, we have people come to us and they'll, explain their divorce or what's been going on, and they'll be like, we just jumped in way too fast without knowing each other. And that's one of the,
most common errors we see all the time when we're talking to people about the relationship history.
And we totally get it. It is an easier mistake to, it's fallen, and we have a podcast on this, and fallen in lust instead of love. But when you don't take that time to really get to know someone, it's so easy to fall in lust and not love. And so we always say, take your time, take it slow. Of course, you don't need to be dating someone for 2 years, not make it official, because there's also time on the opposite scale too. There's when people take way too long, and it's just, I feel like they don't have either their priorities straight.
Well, and the ones that typically take too long, I feel like they're the more analytical ones. Like I always, we tell our clients all day long. Of course, sitting in these meetings and we're talking about everybody's we get hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people surveying this question. And the reality of it is people that, take too much time and overanalyze every detail, they've lost the art of romance and actually falling in love, which is being present.
Yes, and that's a huge thing with the whole culture of dating change. Do not be scared to be old-fashioned. We're in a day and age that we're so used to dating apps. We're so used to texting. We're almost running away of not real communication, not phone calls, and not meeting
the old-fashioned way, and courting that person. At the end of the day, we obviously, as a Christian matchmaking company, we are always about staying that traditional route. So a man should be the one to still open your car door, open the door, all those things that chivalry has not died.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of our clients that are in their 50s, 60s even say, I have such a hard time going back into the dating world because so many things have been lost in kind of a cultural change. Well,
Yeah.
not cultural,
Just a
an
shift
era.
in general. Yeah. And so I think it's one of those things that we always say, go back to when you were 18 years old and you were dating and it was like fun and you were pursuing somebody. If you were interested, you were pursuing. And you know what? If you got your heart broke, you got right back up, right? So many times people are so nervous about what somebody thinks of them or somebody is perceiving them to be. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. If you've given it your all and you've tried in every way, shape, and form you know that you possibly can, then at the end of the day, walk away saying, it's not you, it's not me, we're just not meant to be. But at the end of the day, we also do see so many people that say, oh, I should have actually put a little bit more effort into it. I should have put a little bit more makeup on, or I should have actually put heels on, or for a gentleman, I should have maybe worn a coat. I showed up in a t-shirt or something like that. If you, every date that you go on, it is like an interview. You don't show up in flip-flops and holy jeans or whatever on an interview if you really want that high executive job, So in our world, it's not about your status of what you make. It's also about how you present yourself.
Yeah, and how you carry yourself. If you instantly come in there on a date basically with I don't give a hoot attitude and you're wearing
Which is so true.
You're having holy jeans, you're having I don't know, flip-flops, you're going to come across like you don't care.
Right.
It really, I mean, we do this all the time. We set up dates every single day, and the amount of times that people be like, oh, can I have help, learning what to wear? And we're like, absolutely. We'd rather give out that help instead of someone going on a date and just looking like they purely don't care. I think it just shows also how you carry yourself, your personality, and just even if things don't work, like Renee said, you came into that date giving 110%, and that's what we should always give. I mean, in every area of life, right? Not just
you get what you put out. So and of course we're talking about culturally too. I mean, we're kind of talking error in that regards too. But I mean, across the board, there's another female client currently right now that we're working with, and we're searching internationally for her. Yeah. And one of the shifts is there's definitely a different, I wouldn't say language barrier, you can maybe step in on this, but how people speak and do things and say things. I mean, even down to the difference of some people are more forward in their emoji texting of emotions, right? And others aren't. That could be a cultural thing. One funny thing, Connie and I literally, that little emoji that looks like, a smiley face and little hands, like spirit hands, I always thought that was a hug. Connie said, no, that's somebody waving to you. I said, what?
I was like, little dancing.
It's like a little dancing man. So when I send that, I think I'm hugging somebody with little hug hands.
And I'm like, woohoo!
Because I'm a big hugger. And she's like, that's like a flashy way of spirit fingers. And I'm like, what? So, I mean, and look at that. I mean, that's just one weird way. But then other people, when they don't get an emoji and they don't get some type of reaction, we get back the feedback, oh, they're not interested.
That is
and I'm like,
so
well, that's
true.
because they're a guy, and if guys use emojis too much, then they could come across obviously as maybe too flamboyant, or who knows? I have no idea.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so the reality of it is people can really misread things, and you share culturally, just the difference from obviously being over in the UK to here, and maybe you guys are a little bit more direct. Right? I don't know. Or maybe we're just more rude. I have no idea.
Oh, well, I get that one all the time, don't I, about being direct. But it is also, I mean, it's little things. I was actually just talking to someone about this the other day. Sorry, I got all my words mixed up. But here in America, and this is especially when we're doing international connections, right?
Right.
Is
so important.
Here in America, you'll say, hey, would you like, I don't know, coffee? You would say, hey, sure. In the UK, that is rude. If you don't say, yes, please, thank you, you're welcome. And here, it's just that small cultural difference that is really, I mean, just by you saying sure, there's something that you don't think twice about, it's
sure. As I just said it, right?
No, but that was in a different context. But I think there's small things like that in the dating world that's really, really hard. And I mean, as we talk in the dating world, it's the same with friendships, right? There's things like that become very hard, or people that read things differently, just like me and you and our emojis.
Our texting,
but
yeah.
Also, when it comes to cultural difference, it's also when it how we text. If you pick up the phone nowadays, I think it's millennials, I think. I always get confused which is which. But
Gen X, millennials, and everything
never
else.
Want to pick up the phone. They always just want to like text all the time.
Oh yeah, we always go back and forth and ask people, are you a texter or are you more pick up the phone and have a conversation? And some people will say, oh, I'm more of a texter. We're like, great, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And then if they say, oh, I'm better at picking up the phone, we're like, okay, great, communicate through a text to then pick up the phone. Because nobody's just available. Like, if you're somebody, like, we get
But then some people love this. Me and you are planners, so we can't contribute on
this. But, you know, the client that I was talking about earlier today, her and I had a conversation because she's more of the laid-back P personality type or whatever. And the reality of it is like, that's when I was sitting there thinking and saying, like, she has to text to actually communicate when you're going to call. Because most single people that are desirable have a super busy life. Yeah. And so you can't just randomly call somebody. And I always say, you date with intention, you should also do a call with intention. So if you don't actually have that time to talk to somebody, don't just be like, oh, hey, I don't have time to talk to you, because that's also showing that you don't care. And that's not the truth.
Never say you don't have enough time. Like, I mean, we'll repeat that over and over and over again. Do not ever say that. Even if you don't love phone calls. I know it's hard to be like, okay, let's pick up a phone call. And like randomly, it is really hard. But then if you know that's really important to the other person, I mean, do it now and then, right? I know it's really important to Jeremy. He is a phone call person. Me, on the other hand, everyone, if you have listened to these podcasts, you have learned by now that me and Renee are very much planners. But I can't deal with someone just being like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? Like, can I have an answer? And I'm like, whoa, no, you need to be on my calendar.
And it's funny, like now I've had some friends that have had some like stuff going on lately. Like I answer their call and I'm like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? Because they know I'm such a planner. Like, don't call like off the grid, right? Or off the calendar. And they're like, oh yeah, we're fine. I just wanted to like, wow, you never answer your call. And I'm like, this is why I don't, because I have no time to actually listen. So I feel like it's rude to put somebody to voicemail, but it's even ruder to basically cut them off.
Yeah, and guess what? If you aren't that person who doesn't like it, like me, I didn't like it, and I still don't like it as I should.
Then you just text back and say, like, I'm so sorry I missed your call. I'll call you in 10 minutes, 20 minutes when I'm free.
Exactly. Or if it's special to that person, make the occasion on your Saturday afternoon while you're actually not doing anything, do just pick up the phone for 5 minutes and say, hey, because you'll really make that we all know relationships about compromise, so pick up the phone. Like, even if it takes 10 minutes out of your day, 5 minutes out of your day, and say, hey, I'm actually busy right now, but I wanted to answer it because I seen your face come up, or your name, whatever.
Or whatever it is. Yeah, that's so true. And I think the other thing when we're talking about cultural differences is like, if you're somebody that's never really traveled before, then be interested in whatever their journey is instead of be so narrow-minded to just not get it. Because if you're somebody, like everybody I feel like puts as their interest, they love to travel. Yeah, and even if you haven't traveled,
there's a big variety of travel as well,
right? And that's part of being spontaneous. And so many people will say, "Oh, I don't travel because I'm single and I don't want to go places alone." I get that, but like the goal is to be in a relationship. Always desire and work towards that goal of being in a relationship. So it's so important you're actually really starting to share those things to be like, but I'd love to learn through your experience. And then when you're dating somebody that wants to travel, then start researching maybe the areas that they are. Come back and say, oh my gosh, so I was looking at Italy and there's these amazing like locations I'd love to go, which is showing your partner that you're like culturally trying to drive into things that are important to them. Maybe they're from a different country. Maybe they're from like wherever it is.
Well, even if they aren't from somewhere else, like I know so many people. I mean, so many people here in America, have different backgrounds. And say when you meet someone, they're like, oh, my grandma is Hispanic. I don't know. This is things I'm just coming up with on the spot. Right. Then learn, respect. I mean, learn a little Spanish when you go meet their grandma. Like it sounds so ridiculous to say this out loud because it seems like it's just basic
common sense.
But it really is hard, and there's so many comments that come in and being like, what do I do in this case scenario? My boyfriend's grandma is Hispanic. Actually, that has happened. That's why it's popped into my mind. What should I do? Well, learn your please and thank yous in Spanish and go ahead, like be confident.
And how many times do we have clients that'll say, oh no, because I've never been there before, and we're like, well, adapt to try. Yeah. Because you two are a perfect match, and at the end of the day, all we have to do is put your paths in a crossing, and God will do the rest, right?
Exactly. And it's like Renee said, if you've never traveled before and the other person has traveled a lot, or if they travel differently, one person only travels first class, the other person, hasn't been able to travel first class before. Well, then guess what? You can do it together. You don't have to be intimidated by it, because there's so many times that they'll be like, oh no, I can't travel. I've never traveled like that, so I won't travel like that. And it's just like, it is all about compromise when it comes to culture. It's like, never be too close-minded.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess I would say the final question is, before I'm getting, like, of course, the red light that we need to move on, is what exactly would you say between the different ages of and culturally that you've seen that's really changed?
I really think it's the communication skills. I know a lot of people who come to us in their 50s and 60s who are divorced, or even 70s. We have clients in all ages and all range, but I would say it's about 50 and above. And then our clients who are 20s and their 30s. I'm like, one thing that my 20 and 30-year-olds say, the one communication doesn't go right. Like, they didn't reply to my text after an hour. That's it. I'm not talking to them again. And then my older clients are like, oh, I kind of missed the just picking up on the phone, turning up their doorstep with flowers. Like, things like that, I think, is such a huge difference. And there is some things that, the younger generation are great and that have spread it to the older generation, like with texting. It's fun to text, right? It's fun to have a message, say, instead of calling in the middle of the day saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. But then the older generation, we should also keep their traditions, because how many times do we hear women say with men, we love an old-fashioned guy? We hear it all the time. So I would say guys, just chivalry.
I feel like our younger, just everybody wants somebody that's classy.
Classy, I think.
Classy is the way to go. I feel like when in doubt, go classy.
Yeah, when you see the old movies, everyone's always like, oh, I would love a love like that. Guess what?
Because they put in the effort to dress the part, to
and not be
all about the
phones.
date, to not get lazy and comfortable. The reality of it is, whether you're dating, single, engaged, or married, of course, we always talk to all, is you've got to, regardless cultural or era or whatever it is, you've got to put the effort in. You've got to be 100%. And it sounds like work, but
be romantic.
Yeah, be romantic. And I'm here to tell you, a successful relationship is a lot of work, but it's so rewarding when you put in that time with the right person, and it makes it rewarding, And so it's so important that I always say you find a career of a love mate you want to spend the rest of your life with, opposed to a job that literally you check in and you check out. So, anyways, we hope that you have found this valuable. We are going to have to run, but we love when you guys all write in and tell us what you want to talk about. We can't wait for the next subject.
And we always say, if it's not a question, like a subject like this.
A subject, right? Just anything.
That you feel helpful to listen to.
So we hope you have a blessed evening, and we can't wait till our next talk.
Bye.
It's been another great talk on this episode of One True Talks by Renee Richel. I look forward to our next chat. Please write in your questions and comments so I can be sure to talk about whatever it is you want to discuss in our next upcoming episode. Lots of love. God bless. XOXO.